Welcome to conference. We're doing a continuation of our anniversary. Been together for 14 years as a Shala, as a community. And in our anniversary celebrations the last couple weeks, I've been reading the poem by Rumi, the Sufi poet, Work in the Invisible, because when we opened all those years ago, my teacher Tim Miller blessed our studio and read that beautiful poem, and we've been reading it every year for our anniversary since. And this week I want to just pull that very first line that's often in this poem used as a quote rather than the whole poem, which is what? Does anyone remember the first line? Work in the invisible.
As hard as you work.
At least
as hard as you work at the visible?
Yes, at least as hard as you work in the visible. And this week I want to talk about how Ashtanga is so amazing because you do that here. I always say you're efficient because we're grihastas, we're householders. We got to get everything in this 1 or 2 hours. That's our physical health practice, our energetic health practice, and our emotional or our spiritual health practice, because we don't have all day to sit on a mountain and chant and recite scripture and all these things. So we condense it into this 1.5 hours together where we're going to do something that actually ignites and touches all of those aspects of ourself and nourishes us. So I was using, and those of you out there can't see this, but we did have one of our students draw a beautiful picture of Susan the plant in her pot. And that demonstration of the koshas was to show, like, we've been talking about this whole semester, about above ground, above the dirt is your physical self, is your thinking self, your belief self, your energetic self, and then below where the pot is your internal self, your Vijnanamaya kosha, your Anandamaya kosha, your soul. And so this simple practice of a vinyasa yoga practice is really meant to nourish all of that, to keep you physically healthy, your lymphatic system, your muscles, your tissue, your fascia, to keep you energized. So like plugging in your smartphone that's on red, you come in and your body feels like it's in the red zone, like it's just no energy, it's out of its battery. And we do this movement and breath for 1.5 hours, and then we're charged. We leave here and the green battery inside of us is like fully charged. And we go out into our day. And of course that third piece, which might seem elusive to all you, and yet it's so simply clear, what we're doing here is focusing our mind and breathing. I'm going to talk about the orange and pink zone today. And in that breath and in the very specific way we hold our body in postures and breathe into it, we actually work in some invisible areas of ourself that have to do with our emotional state and our spiritual well-being. And so much so when you leave here without any doctrine, you leave here and rather than someone cutting you off and getting like cursing at them and getting all mad, maybe instead you're just grateful that you were okay. You feel grateful instead, and maybe you have a moment of compassion, like I've done that unintentionally sometimes, and we just move on, you know. So we notice that we behave differently in life, we think differently in life, we treat the people we love differently in life, and that's all part of what we're working on and training here in our yoga practice, in the visible as much as the invisible. So as much as maybe we all came here because we wanted to get strong or we wanted to physically be more flexible and healthy, we all know that the practice has made us all emotionally more stable and happy and joyful and kind. So how does that happen? So I have another diagram that our creative director will take a picture of for you, Tamara. Something that maybe I've been looking at too many diagrams with Joe Dispenza's PET scans and everything, but I've started thinking in diagrams. And so in this diagram, there's a middle line, and I drew it like this, and it's with a black marker there. It's just this middle zone here. And that middle zone represents, oh, I promised T I wouldn't stand up. It represents the repetitive movement of how I hold my physical body in life. So I'm walking like this. I'm sitting like this, I'm driving my car like this. I might reach over like that, but I'm like this. And then I sleep like this. And I'm just in these habitual patterns of how I do my daily life. My body is used to being in this zone that I drew. And in that zone, there's this yellow crayon in the middle. And that yellow crayon that's around that black is my habitual breathing patterns. So the way every day that I come to life and I'm walking and I'm driving in my car and I'm on my phone, I'm watching the TED Talk I'm going to give you all for homework, and I'm in this pattern of breathing as well that's in the same zone that I'm very used to. And then we come to do a practice like yoga, and this is beautiful. This is one of the reasons we do yoga. I have this beautiful model, Kim, today. And I asked Kim to do Janu Sirsasana A, which we all do, whether you're new or experienced. Can you kind of face the camera a little bit more? Janu Sirsasana A, and she does, because it's Ashtanga, she just doesn't go. Instead, we do a vinyasa count, and we say Ekam, inhale, actually Sapta, inhale, and Ashto, exhale. And she takes 4 breaths in this pose. Rather than, can you be bad, Kim? Bad Janu Sirsasana? So this example, to me, is repeating a habitual pattern that you already do throughout the day. Why? Thank you. Yeah, because I'm a little bit rounded, my head's down, my throat is closed. I call these dead zones. This becomes a dead zone, this becomes a hard zone, dead zone, dead zone, dead zone, right? They're just not getting any movement. But now I bring her into a pose through vinyasa, so the inhale, it's like a push-pull. She engages her bandhas, which means she locks in her prana, she locks in her capacity to move her prana throughout her body. She locks it in. She sets everything by pushing and pulling into new space where we don't go during the day because we're in our habitual pattern. She sets it up here, and then she exhales into a pose in a way that moves in what I'm calling the orange zone. So orange zone is a couple things here. So the orange zone that I drew, if this was my habitual pattern here, the orange zone went way outside of that. Way outside of that. So rather than being here, now my orange zone is I've opened my hip up, which I don't get to do during the day in my habitual pattern. I've opened my hip up. Kim lengthened her spine, pulled her belly in, and lengthened and got taller in her spine and space in her rib cage, and lengthened her throat in the second way that she did it. And in that, now I want to talk about the pink. And I'm kind of creating a new vocabulary for us because I'm going to say this throughout class. I'm going to talk about the orange zone, the pink zone. So in Kim's, good Kim, Janu Sirsasana, she took a big inhale, Ujjayi, and she exhaled into the pose. And if you can hear her, I'll breathe for her. And what we've studied over here in my other drawing is that now we've get the electrical system as your nadis. We're getting breath and energy moving through the 72,000 nadis that are held within my body. And the areas of vayu, so if Kim sits up, one of the areas that I've started saying is not serviced in our habitual patterns is this chest region, is this throat region. And sometimes because we don't sit like this like other cultures do, and we don't do a lot of this, our digestion doesn't work as well, our perineal muscles aren't as strong, but we understand from the vayus, which is like, remember the vayus are meant to be like the winds or the currents. So they ride on the breath. And if you could think of being a container like a bathtub, my Diana body is my bathtub body, and I use my breath as my hand, and I push the currents throughout the body. We talked about that. So if there was hot water coming in through the top of my head, unless I can create a current, it's just going to be hot water right here. But if I create a current and I'm moving it through, now I can get that water all the way down to the base of my spine, where my digestion and my organs need it. I can push it around my chest and my heart region. And there's all of these physical benefits that come from us doing this breath work, this vayu work, and to get out of our normal pattern and into this wider zone of movement. And then the pink is brilliant because, yeah, that would be good if I just did this. I could be in a stretch class and do all kinds of stretching that I don't normally do. But the brilliance of this methodology is that now I add breath. Now Kim adds breath. And in that breath practice, we are going to completely be able to nourish all 3 of your bodies. Your physical body is going to change. Your energy body is going to get nourished. In turn, touch your physical body when we do that. We're healthier in our digestion, in our throat, in our heart region. But then you're also going to touch that emotional part of you as well, that we all know that our tissues and our whole body holds experience. And so in that, just breathing and moving and twisting and getting some physical things out, we're also breathing emotionally. And at the end of class, you have this experience of being your widest, most twisted, most extended, tallest self. And on a very emotional level, this serves us, which we know that if we live our lives and our habitual patterns, and then we come to yoga and we inhale into the orange zone and we create that pink. We inhale wider into the orange zone and we breathe in some pink. We inhale into the orange zone and we create more pink. And then at the end of this, we're just like, I'm just feeling happier. I'm feeling a little bit more compassion to other people. I'm feeling like I want to be nicer to my husband, my wife. I'm feeling all these things that are naturally, our body is designed to dump this chemistry in there that actually makes us feel dopamine and all these wonderful things that we have within us. It dumps these things and it starts to change how we actually feel. And then the more we focus and focus and focus and come to this place rather than living in this place, we wound up shifting like old patterns in our belief system and ways of being and all this kind of good stuff as well. So here is your quote, of course, so it becomes not just a quote, but like your mantra. Work in the invisible at least as hard as you work in the visible. So every time you come to yoga practice, you get an A+. Yay. If you're doing the pink and you're doing the orange and you're doing the focus. And then the quote for this week is by a beautiful lady named Annette Morjani, who actually had stage 4, I believe it was lymphatic cancer, and was her family was told she would probably pass. She was in a coma, and her family was told that they needed to say goodbye to her, that they should say goodbye because she was probably going to pass in the next hour. And in that time, she went to the other side and came back and has an amazing message for us that has to do what we were talking about today. So this is on our website. You can, it's a TED Talk. You can watch it this week as part of your homework. But I wanted to share with you this quote she said after she came back from dying and was on the other side. I believe that the greatest truths of the universe don't lie outside in the study of stars and planets. They lie deep within us, in the magnificence of our heart, mind, and soul. Until we understand what is within us, we cannot understand what is without. So all of us today is going to do some inner exploration and taking care of the things we can't see, but that actually are the things that are most important in our life. Namaste.